this week's raid challenge for Salvation's Edge is all of them, actually. But the new one is going to be the Witness Encounter. It is called Coordinated Efforts. Now, to add to that, in case you want to get your Master Triumphs done and get the seal, you can do that all this week in one run. If you need challenge guides for the first 4 encounters, I have all of those on the channel. I'll try to leave them in the description below with links as well. But for this video, we're talking about the Witness Encounter. So the Coordinated Efforts challenge is pretty straightforward, as the Triumph would suggest. You need to break all of the Witness's glyphs all at once within 5 seconds of each other to get the challenge to be completed. Otherwise, it'll be a challenge failed. Now, the objective is pretty clear, but the path to get to that objective might get a bit complicated, especially for pickup or LFG groups, so let's break it down into its simplest form. So, what I would recommend you do is break up your team into 2 teams of 3. Then assign a Team 1 and a Team 2. From there, you have Team 1 pick a symbol each, triangle, circle, square, and they will each get the glyph breaker from those specifically. Team 2 does the same after Team 1 goes and gets their glyph breaker. Now keep in mind, when you're doing it this way and you're not actually breaking any of the glyphs on the Witness chest, the subjugators do not spawn in, so the teammates that are not currently trying to get glyph breakers should just be on ad clear, getting the chieftains, the scribes, and the scions down so nobody gets yoinked off the map. Once you have acquired glyph breaker for whatever symbol you are doing, let's say for example triangle, you're going to let your counterpart from the other team know that you did so they can start there. So for example, in the footage you'll see on screen, my counterpart was Cece, so as soon as I got my glyph breaker from triangle, I let him know that I got mine so he can then go next on the next triangle hand. The other people do the same thing with circle and square. Now, if you're a Team 1 member and you're getting the glyph breaker first, you need to have something in mind, as you're going to have a little bit of a disadvantage. Once you get your glyph breaker and Team 2 is going and getting theirs before you go to damage, you need to be wary of your timer on the screen for your residents that you picked up while getting glyph breaker, because your timer can run out while Team 2 is still getting their glyph breaker, and obviously if you die, you lose yours. So I would recommend trying to get as little residents as possible while trying to get glyph breaker. That way, when you're in that phase where you're just killing ads and waiting for Team 2 to finish, you can go step in a resonance beam and then reapply your buff so you get a new timer. And speaking of which, I would recommend always using the square hand to reapply resonance, because the square hand, while it can give you some damage on your health bar, it won't actually outright kill you, as opposed to triangle and circle. If you step in there while it's ending or doing the blast animation, that can just straight up kill you in one shot on Master. So if you need to reapply your buff, go to the square hand. And while you're reapplying resonance, try to stay away from X3 as much as you can, because obviously if you get X3 and accidentally step into a different beam, you can then just die because it'll give you a new buff. So if you can, stay in that middle ground of X2. As long as your timer is higher than the final shape timer, you'll be fine and start DPS before you die, but just be wary of not getting X3 if you can. One last thing regarding the glyphs for this challenge, it's not something mandatory, but just something to keep in mind. As you're going into the damage phase, make sure that you make some sort of effort to be like, okay, I got bottom left, I got top left, I got mid left, right side people do the same thing. That way, everybody just shoots one, and nobody gets confused, because sometimes what can happen is 2 people will shoot the same glyph, they'll both think that they broke it, and not actually look that they still have glyph breaker, and if that happens, and they both think they broke one, they could be like, alright, my job is done, I did it, and then 5 seconds pass, and you lose the challenge because, you know, the confusion happened. So I would recommend at least trying to call out what you're going to shoot just to avoid that. And that's pretty much the entire challenge. You have one luxury while doing this, and that is you won't get subjugators to spawn in, so you don't have to deal with those on Master, as they're boss level yellow bars. But I will say, on the flip side, you do have yellow bar chieftains to watch out for, but even this is a luxury because they're yellow bars on Master, and you can use those to make heavy or special ammo for your fire team in the event that you're going to go for a 2 or 3 phase on Master. Now, as for damage on the Witness on Master, if you're doing that, the burns this week are Void and Arc, so for Warlocks and Titans, just apply those burns to whatever weapons you want to use, you know, Crux Termination, Cloud Strike, Edge Transit, etc. Also, Microcosm is always good, but on Master, you don't have the Surge for it, I believe. And then Hunters, even though Still Hunt was nerfed specifically for you, it still just destroys the Witness, just not as bad as before, but it's still really good, even without the Surge. But you could also put, you know, like an Arc or Void Heavy instead, just to match the Surge as well. Also, with that said, ignore my first DPS phase in this footage. It was complete garbage. I had Arc Holster on instead of Solar Holster. It was a disaster. Anyway, that's all I got for this challenge. This one is pretty easy overall, as long as you can just get to DPS. So hopefully you guys get your seal today for Master if you happen to be doing that, and hopefully this video has helped you do the challenge very easily. Now, if you'll excuse me, I gotta go run GM Liminality to try to make a guide for that as well. In the meantime, if you did enjoy the video or this has helped you, please consider subscribing today. It does help the channel grow and is much appreciated. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can leave a like and or comment below as well. If you don't know what to comment, you can leave witness as the comment. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.